Welcome to Cigar Audit. Matt and Edward here to review the Pour Larranaga Petit Corona. So Mr. Ed, tell me what your cigar looks, smells, and feels like.
Well, construction looks good. Seems fairly tight. Very minimal veins.
Yeah, I would say it's a very slight waxy feel, but toothy. Got a little bit of texture to it.
Yeah. Definitely has that musty smell.
Especially on the foot. You just smell the foot. Wow. That's that barnyard pretty strong.
No, it's like it all the way through, really.
Yeah. It's stronger through the foot though. But yeah, it looks good so far. Nice triple cap. And the fill seems to be
It's fairly tightly
pretty
packed.
consistent.
It has
Yeah.
a little give.
Sometimes these can be inconsistent in fill, so we'll see how it goes. For those that haven't had these are fairly inexpensive Cubans. Of course, all Cuban tobacco. And the Petit Coronas, they sell them in boxes of 25 or boxes of 50. So boxes of 50 might cost you about 250 bucks or so. So they're not ridiculously expensive, and they supposedly age really well. Most people say they're best at ages between 4 years and 4 and 6 years. So the box code on this cigar is EML May 2014. So they have a few years on them. So we'll see. I've smoked a few out of the box and they taste pretty good. So let's get them cut up. Pretty light draw. What do you got?
Pretty good. Has a little resistance to it.
Mine's just about right. Just enough.
Just enough to know you're sucking on something.
Absolutely. I'm not getting a whole lot other than a little bit of earthiness. I'm not getting much through the pre-light.
Yeah, me either.
So pretty mild. All right, let's get them toasted up. So at first light, what do you get?
Well, first impressions, I get a lot of that Cuban twang. A lot of it. Not overly spicy. From a hot spice standpoint, but I think it's like a sweeter spice, like I don't know, paprika or something like something in that area.
Some nutmeg, something with some texture too. And I'm getting a little bit of that. Sometimes you get with a Cuban when you first light sourdough bread, toasted bread.
I get a little bit of cedar, a little underlying tones of cedar, a little bit.
Yeah, and the Cuban twang that you're talking about, I think is got a sweetness to this one. More so than a lot of other Cubans, a little sweeter.
The smoke is very chewy.
Yeah.
Very, no, not that kind of chewy.
Not that kind of? No. Yeah, I think it's almost a sweetness of, almost hints of caramel, however you say it.
Caramel.
I say caramel.
That's because you're from here.
Aren't we all from here? So I definitely get that Cuban twang with some sweetness, maybe a little bit of caramel notes to it, and almost a little bit of cream notes to it. So it's very smooth, very smooth. And they only have a couple of years on them, so
Yeah, I don't
it's
get
going to be 3.
I don't get the creaminess as much as some others, but it seems to be very smooth and actually, for a cheaper cigar, pretty well balanced so far.
Yeah, so far so good. So we'll get further down and we'll let you know how the first half was. Welcome back to Cigar Audit. Matt and Edward here to go over the first half of the Pour Larranaga Petit Corona. Edward, your first half, sir.
It's been good, surprisingly so for a cheaper cigar. Still get a lot of that Cuban twang. The sweetness, I think, has picked up actually a little bit. There's something, a new flavor that it's transitioned to for me, so I can't really put my palate on it. kind of a, I don't know, maybe like a sweet Italian cream.
A sweet cream?
Yeah.
Ooh.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I won't say mellowed out, but it seems like the tastes are more blended together now. It's smooth, a little bit smoother than it was at the beginning.
I would agree. I think it's smooth, although, and sometimes I get vegetal sweetness, especially through the nose, and I would say it is more of a creamy sweetness, and even some caramel sweetness through the throat. Caramel. Is that better? Caramel.
Yes.
Caramel.
I used to say caramel in Canada. They used to make fun of me all the time.
Yeah. Well, they're Canadian, buddy.
Yeah.
What do they have to make fun of?
Well, when they get all the immigrants up there, they'll have plenty of them.
There you go. But even though it does have sweetness to it, I find mine to be a very rich Cuban tobacco flavor.
Oh, that's the binding flavor that holds everything together.
Mm-hmm.
I had an accident, by the way.
You what? I know you had an accident. I saw.
You just didn't say anything.
Yeah, I didn't say anything.
I
I'll vacuum it later.
Okay.
As far as body in the flavor, what would you say it is? Because I have my thoughts. And you're smoking it down faster than I am.
That's to the high side of medium now. I think it's a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd say medium full. You know, for a small cigar, it's got some power to it. In flavor, strength, medium. I mean, it's got a little strength to it, I can tell, but nothing crazy. My ash is holding on very well. Unlike Ed's, which ended up on the table, I have 2 chunks of ash. That's it. So, so far so good. So we'll finish smoking this down, and we'll tell you how it finishes up. Welcome back to Cigar Audit. Matt Edward here to review, not Matt Edward, Matt and Edward here to review the poor Larranaga Petit Corona. Ed, your last third/half, whatever we're doing here.
Half, I believe.
Last half, yeah.
It has kicked up in spice a little bit, I think. I don't think it's an overly complex cigar. There is a little complexity. Transitions have been few and far between, and then the ones that there have been very subtle. Mm-hmm. But it has that really nice earthy tobacco taste that I enjoy, that sort of binds everything together, which you can say with most cigars, but for this one, that earthy tobacco taste it's a really pleasant taste for me.
And very rich.
Yeah.
Very strong. Yeah.
You know, and then you have your sweetness that comes in and out, creaminess that comes in and out occasionally.
Well, I would agree. I think that the second half isn't as sweet as the first half was. Probably due to age. It's going on 3 years, but it probably needs, from hearing others, I haven't had aged PLPCs before, but from hearing others, right around the 5-year mark is where you get a lot of sweetness throughout. But I enjoy this rich tobacco flavor that's in the second half. I would say the second half is nowhere near as complex as the first half, but certainly enjoyable. My ash is holding on very well. Draw's been perfect. I haven't had any construction issues at all. It's hard to complain when it's performed so well, and it's a fairly inexpensive cigar, even though it's small. And I would say it's burned. The beginning started to burn quickly, and then it slowed down. So the speed of burn is pretty good for the value. I would say through the nose, I get a vegetal sweetness. And a little bit of white pepper, which is picked up at the end, like Ed said. And I would say on the draw, it's definitely that earthy tobacco note with hints of caramel here and there, hints of cream, but those were caramel. I'm sorry. But the creaminess was far more prevalent in the first half. So the PLPC, sir, how would you rate this?
I'm also getting a little bit of, now that I'm down, getting a little bit of like a celery
Really?
almost.
Yeah, I don't. Mine's kind of a generic vegetal sweetness, but. So how would you rate said cigar, sir?
I don't know, this is gonna be a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm looking at about a 91 actually.
I've gone back and forth on this.
I mean, surprisingly so. I mean, I didn't expect to be rated at that high.
Mm-hmm. I've always said that the Boulevard Petit Corona is my favorite Petit Corona. The one that I had out of the box a few days ago was better than this one. So what I mean by that was those rich, creamy, sweeter flavors were more throughout to the very end. This one's turned more of a dark earth and rich tobacco at the end. But
Now, I will preface it by saying that I've smoked a bunch of crap lately in the last couple of days.
so it's
And I had some sick Cubans the last couple of days, so.
well, this one's definitely not sick.
So yeah,
I really do think that it's performed well. I was thinking all along like a 92, 93. The last little bit here at the end, I kind of knock it down. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say 91. I think that's a good score. And I would bet that we'll probably get into 94 territory in a year or two.
No, I mean, for a cheaper cigar, I really think it holds up well to some of the flagship cigars of the same size.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly so.
But these are, as far as Petit Coronas are concerned, though, these are one of the most sought after Petit Coronas, believe it or not. And I think it's because of the age capability. So most people will say that they just get better and better and better for age, and some say up to 20 years, which is just crazy. I don't plan on having any of these left probably in 3 or 4 years, let alone 20. But in general, very good. So check it out. If you find them, pick them up. They're fairly inexpensive as far as Cuban cigars are concerned. So thanks for watching Cigar Audit. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Check us out on FaceTube and the Insta Twitter and all that stuff. And don't forget to check us out at cigaraudit.com. See you next time. Peace.